So we want to go here. There we are. Okay, this should be live now. My watch, yes, it just said I'm live. Good. Now, I do have an oddity here with this that I'm going to fix, which is that I don't have a way to chat in chat if I need to. And I have no idea of how many people are out there. So I need to go switch to here for a second while I go open up my browser and check here. And it doesn't show up there. Why is that happening? This is very odd. Videos. Is it under videos? No. Oh, yes, it is live there. Okay, so if I go there, that's me here. I'm going to minimize the volume there. And no. YouTube is very strange, I have to say. Can we pop out the chat? Pop out chat. Hey, we can. Okay. There, just going to test this. Yes. Okay, good. So I can have access to my own chat, which is nice. We can minimize that. We can actually close that window and put the chat over here onto monitor 2 and drag it out of the way there. Okay. Close that. Doesn't close it. Minimize it. Okay. This is very confusing. I have to say Twitch is a much more manageable system. Excuse me. Okay. So if you watched one of my videos previously, one of my live streams about this Zenati font, then you'll know what's going on. But if you didn't, then I will quickly summarize. This is not actually a conscript or conlang or anything like that. I produce those. I've made a variety of fonts and writing systems and things like that for conlangs that I'm working on. Some of them just for the sake of making them because I wanted to figure something out and see if I could do it. And so far, I've been pretty happy with the results. And I had somebody on Reddit contact me and say they really liked one of my designs. And they wondered if I would be willing or interested in doing a design for a writing system for Zenati Berber languages. Those are the Berber languages, I believe, spoken mostly in Libya or Algeria or something. I'm not sure. In the east end of the range for Berber languages. The Western one versions that are spoken in Morocco and that area have the Tifinagh writing system. And this person said that the Zenati languages, which include Shawiya, which is what this person spoke, don't have a writing system that suits their language. If they use Tifinagh, it's not quite right. They can use the Latin alphabet. There's a modified version of Latin writing that can be used to write their languages, but that's not part of their culture. And they said it'd be really neat to try building a writing system for those languages that could be native to those languages and was inspired by the ancient Libico-Berber writing system, which I have a graphic for here, I think. So the Numidico stuff on the left there is ancient symbols that were used for writing these languages. Even those weren't all that well suited to the modern day because they are only writing the consonants. And the Berber languages are part of the Afro-Asiatic family, I think. They're like related to Semitic languages. They work off of 3 consonant roots, and not writing the vowels is very common with those languages in their earlier versions of writing systems. Arabic started off that way without the diacritics. Hebrew didn't have the diacritics. And readers were left to derive the correct pronunciation from the consonants that were provided, which is probably not as hard as it sounds like it should be to somebody who speaks a European language or any language that isn't written and doesn't rely on 3 consonant roots. I don't speak any of those languages. Note that. I certainly don't speak any of the Berber languages, although from this project I'm becoming more interested in it. But I thought, okay, I'll take a look at the original artwork and see what I can come up with to see if I can create a writing system. And from that, I've produced this style here. This is that is Shawiya, one of the names of one of those languages. In the writing system that I created, it's very deliberately heavy and blocky and simple, because the first stage in producing a writing system like this is going to be to come up with something that has very distinct shapes, and get feedback from people on whether or not they like it. And I have contacted the person that was asking me to tackle this project, and given them access to the font, and they are going to try and circulate it amongst various speakers of these various languages and give me some feedback, but that hasn't happened yet. So I understand that's not a quick thing to do. Cycle it out to a bunch of people that have never seen it before and say, hey, what do you think of this? And this might not amount to anything. I might have created something as an intellectual exercise here that is cool to me and really ugly to everybody else. I don't know. It might not be attractive. It is based loosely on the shapes from the ancient symbols, with a pile of changes made by me, I admit. It is slightly stylized, not heavily so. And what I want to do now is take this and say, what would it look like if I transformed it into a more traditional stylized font, like you see in the modern day? This here might work just fine. It might need to have changes made. People may find things confusing or incorrect, or it may look too much like some other writing system that I'm unaware of and people don't like it. Who knows? And if I go and make changes to it like I'm proposing to try today, I may be doubling my workload because I get feedback and people say, well, we hate this glyph here. It looks terrible. The glyph for H looks like a backward Latin E and we really don't like it. Then I'll have to change it. And if I do this stylized version, I'm producing 2 fonts and I'll have to change it in both of them. And if I let this get away from me too much, it could turn into a massive amount of work just catching up when I make a change. But I thought I'm not giving it a fair shot here. Maybe I could make something that looks a little more attractive to people, looks a little bit more stylized. When you look at Latin fonts, there's thousands of the things. And I want to try exploring that a little bit. Now, the font I have my eye on, and I'm quite frankly probably going to rip off some elements of, is one of my favorites. It's called Bodoni. Here's an example of Bodoni. there there's an Italian font designer, and I cannot remember his name. I was going to write it down, and I might even have written it down and then lost the sheet that I wrote it on. But he said, in essence, you only really need to have 6 fonts. And I wrote those down, and I found the sticky for that. And they are Garamond, Bodoni, Century Expanded, Futura, Times New Roman, and Helvetica. Okay. So if those are sort of essential fonts, then it would eschew me to try and find one of them that I thought would be worth emulating. And Bodoni is one of the most distinctive ones. It's one of my favorites, and it's used all over the place. So I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to go and try and start the process of making this look a little bit more like that. And we'll see if it works. I really have no idea if it's going to work. None whatsoever. So we'll give this a shot. Now, unconnected to any of the font stuff, I just bought this mic. And I've reconfigured my system to use this mic. But since I see there's at least one more person out there in the audience there, can you tell me if the sound is coming through okay? Does my voice sound good? Is it too loud? Is it too faint? Is it getting clipped or anything like that? It shouldn't have any of those problems. I think I got that all solved, but I thought I would ask and just see to see what you think, if the audio is okay. Because I have nothing else in the background here. It's just my voice. When I'm streaming on Twitch, I got background music, I got a game going, I've got Discord talk and everything else like that that all feeds into it. Here, it's just my voice carrying it. So let me know if you think it's if the audio is okay, or if I need to make any changes. What I will do is move the mic a little closer and more in front here, like that. And then I think it's time to go to it. Oh, hello, Task Welder. Thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Good. I've only done like 6 live streams on YouTube, so it's an interesting contrast to Twitch. Twitch has tools up the yin yang to help you do stuff, and YouTube's trying. I'll give them that. But it's seemingly lacking in a lot of tools. A lot of stuff that I've come to rely on with Twitch. So we'll see if I can convey this here effectively. Okay. It's not going to be movie quality. No. I have spent a lot of time trying to get everything working. Oh, if you're wondering why I'm looking to the left all the time, that's because I've got 3 monitors here, and that's where I put the stream chat there. On Twitch, I have text-to-speech running, and it monitors all this stuff, but it isn't working here. I haven't figured out how to do it here. I have a simple system on Twitch. I use a thing called StreamerBot, but I don't think I can get it to work on YouTube. Actually, I should talk to the guy who writes it, who's coding it, and say, hey, could you put in a YouTube setting? That would be handy. Okay. So if we go back to that page on Bodoni, you'll note that it is thick and thin lines, particularly the serifs at the bottom there. The glyphs are reasonably far apart. They do have a vertical stress, like it says there. And I'm going to go for trying to do the difference between the thick and thin strokes there. And we'll see if it works. So if I pick something like the letter K, that will let me look at how thin we're going to make these lines here. I think the first thing I will do is straighten that out and select both those points there and drop it down. And then take this and raise it up. there like that. And I don't know if that's going to look, it's going to look a little odd, isn't it? We might need to change the proportions on things. Oh, I found a neat trick here. If you look at the H character, that is pretty much an even rectangle. And coincidentally, H is what you would normally use this for. So what I can do is go in here and click on this here and set this to 5 and set this here to 50 like that. And that sets the spacing so that we have a 5 gap at the start here and a 50 gap at the end. And yes. If you're making a font based off of Bodoni, be careful. It can get complicated if you don't know what you're doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm taking something that I like and imitating it. And it's not ever going to be as polished as Bodoni is, but I'm going to work on it and see what I can do. Now, this thing here that I came across, you'll see that this is now set at 6 and this is at 50. I don't know why that's at 6 and not 5. Should be 5. Okay. Now, when we go back in here to any of these glyphs that are normal, we can now go down here and type in equals H. And it is supposed to set that. Doesn't look like it did, but it's supposed to set it to be the same as whatever I set the H to. Equals H. O equals H. There. And then over here equals H. No. Equals H. And that should mean that if I go through each of these glyphs, I will flag that one. We'll say green. If I go, I'll flag this one too, of course. Green. If I go through each of these and adjust that to be equal to H for spacing, where possible, then I can just adjust the values for H and it will adjust the values for all the other ones. And I think that is a very, very clever little trick. I'm not sure how it's going to work with ones that are narrower or wider. So I'm just going to play with that now and see. Maybe that trick won't work. Equals H. No, that appears to be working. Good. Flag green. It is a very slow process to do all this stuff. It's not going to be done with the vowels the same way. Oh, I'm making an obvious error here. I should go equals H, highlight that, copy it, and then do that. And flag green. So how are you folks doing today? Thank you very much for dropping by. Control V. Control V. And that one should be done. Now, I really do wish I'd had the chance to get some feedback from the individual that asked me to do this, but They're busy planning on getting married, so I can understand that that will take up some of their time, and I should forgive them for how long it takes to get back to me, things like that. But it is frustrating from the point of view of somebody who'd like to hear a comment saying, hey, this is good, or hey, this sucks, you know. Have I decided what a handwritten form would look like? No. I did go and experiment with the brush tool in here to see if creating a handwritten one that way, just quickly, would look okay. And I've never played with this tool before, and this is what it produced. It just literally lets me take a brush and draw the shape. But that's just a pure experimentation there, and I've left the glyph like that because I want to remember to go back and look at that. But no, I did that one. Flag green. These flag things are very useful. Oh, we should do the original that I was playing with here. But no, I haven't really looked at that. Honestly, I would think if the system works, that flag green, that I wish I got to figure out if I could tie that to a function key or something. That would be so much easier if I could just put the colors on like 1 to 5. If this gets adopted by anybody, then I expect the handwritten form will emerge from that, right? People won't always be using their computer to do things, and we will end up with feedback from that. It is a thing that the person that I was talking to asked me about, and I don't know if that's going to be much of a thing or not. We'll find out. Come on, play with me. Thank you. Ah, right. That one was set narrow to overlap things. So that one it's not going to work for. I want it to be in there like that. So that one's going to be an exception, but I will color it green anyway because I have adjusted it. Flag green. Oh, the other question I had was I have attempted to make this as clearly visible as possible, but when I look at my OBS window, it does look like some lines are darker than others and that the grid shows up in a weird pattern and stuff like that. I hope it's okay on YouTube. I will have to go back and look at the VOD for it and see what I think. Oh, this one will get it too. This is a very useful little trick, I gotta say. And it's neat to be able to standardize it on one if I go to change things. Both of those can be now flagged green. I'm in the process of making a video on selecting font software for people that want to build their own fonts for conlanging or whatever. It's not quite done. I'm not that good at making YouTube pre-produced and designed YouTube videos yet. I'm still learning. And I hope to have that out shortly, though. We're not adjusting the vowels yet, not standardizing because they're different. But if anybody is thinking that they might want to try their hand at designing a writing system for their Conlang, then I will have a video that shows you a bunch of options that you can check out. Now, I personally love this software, but I recognize it's kind of expensive as an investment for somebody who is thinking about getting into this, and they might want to start with cheaper options. So it kind of depends on what you want to design too. A lot of the stuff that I do is relying on the use of ligatures, and that means you need software that supports the ligatures. And I haven't checked all the programs that I've included in that video. Some of them I haven't used yet, so I don't really want to comment on whether or not they're useful for doing that yet, but I thought I would point them out to people. Forgive me while I go through all this minutia here. Some of these may not actually be being used yet, but I figured I would be efficient and do them all. Webcams are by default reversed so that when I look left, I am looking to my left on the camera. So that's my right, that's my left. I've got 3 monitors, big center one, and then 2 that are arranged vertically on the sides. And therefore I can stack more information in them in there. I have OBS on one side. I have my stats coming from OBS up there, like render time for per frames and things like that. It doesn't really matter. The chat, the classes for the font that I'm producing. And then on the right-hand side, I have features and the preview and my new Wavelink software that's letting me adjust the volume on my mic and everything else. So I am looking to my left, but it's to the right of the image. I like, if you're looking at me, I am looking to my left. The camera is faithfully reproducing that. But if I say it's to the right of the screen, then it would actually be to the left of the screen. Does that make sense? No. Yeah. This is my right hand. So yeah, it would be reversed if I say, take a look at the top left screen. I got to keep that in mind. It's actually the top right side of the screen for anybody looking at the screen. Does that work out? I think that works out. Maybe I'm getting it all ass backwards. This is all a learning experience for me too, because this font software is incredibly powerful, and I'm still figuring things out. And there's a lot to figure out. And then, of course, fonts themselves are incredibly complex, and I'm still picking up on all the minutiae of doing font production, and there's lots of it that I haven't learned yet, and I hope to learn, but have not done yet. And then I will pass on what I learn to you folks. Okay, now we're doing the combined ones in here, and I'm sorry if you thought, oh, he's almost done doing this boring cutting and pasting thing, and he isn't almost done because he's got more glyphs hiding in the bottom there. Sorry. But I wanted to get this setup standardized here so that I could be consistent across the entire font without having to go and do all this stuff later. And this is a great tool for that. We did that one. We didn't highlight it and color it. So I'm going to make the broad assumption that whoever is out there watching does not speak any of the Zenati Berber languages. The inits can be done. But just as a writing system, what do you think? That cannot be adjusted. No, that cannot be adjusted. That has to sit there like that. I'm interested in opinions. On the level of, do you actually like the way this looks, or do you think it looks like crap, basically, or is ugly, or whatever you want to say. What I am trying to do is come up with something that is original, that does not look like anything else, so that nobody looks at it and says, "Oh, that just looks like Cyrillic redone or something." And I think I've done that. I don't think this looks like too much like anything else I've seen as a writing system. That's the first hurdle. But I also recognize that I am sitting very close to it as a project, and my opinion is inherently going to be biased by having worked on it and created it. And there's really very little way around that. It's very hard to divorce yourself from something that you get working on heavily. So this one can be adjusted, but the other one can't, because I want the overlap. Hopefully that makes sense. The ones that I can't adjust the right side bearing for are ones like this one, where I want the overlap into the next glyph. So that one's okay. I did that. Green. Green. Did that one. So these ones here, no overlap, doesn't matter. I can do both sides and standardize it on H. And just remember that I haven't done it on some glyphs because of the fact that we want the overlap, at least at the moment. Every single one of these fonts that I've done, did that keep that? It did. Every single one of them has been iterated endlessly. They're even when it's a simple design like this, I go through these endlessly and make little changes here or there, which I hope improve their performance or appearance or whatever. Do those before I forget about them. Oh, well, thank you. Oh, hello, Feral Kitty 9. Thank you. Yeah, it might amount to nothing. Okay. I'm fully prepared for this to amount to nothing, which is to say that it's up to speakers of the Zenati Berber languages as to whether or not they like the results. So that one isn't getting adjusted because of the overlap. And I'm working on it as an intellectual process because it advances my ability to develop fonts. And also because, well, two things. First off, I was asked by somebody who speaks the language. I would never just go and create a writing system for some language that doesn't have it on my own. I sort of smacks of cultural appropriation and things like that I really don't want to have any air of. But if I'm asked by somebody who does it, that's entirely different. Then I feel like I'm empowered to go and try my hand at something and see what happens. Intellectually, I don't care. It's really interesting. Morally, I don't want to be accused of cultural appropriation or anything like that. It happens too much. So while I would really like to get feedback from speakers of Zenati, and while I really hope that they like my efforts, I'm fully prepared to hear they don't, and people just aren't interested. And that could well be the case. I am braced for that possibility. That one doesn't get adjusted. This one does. I do firmly believe that everybody who speaks a language deserves to have a way to write that language. That's how we preserve culture and history, and it's very important to me. I worked on a thing called the Ndebe project, which was another instance of a language, this time one called Igbo. I hope I'm saying that right. From Nigeria, although it's spoken in other languages or in other areas as well. A speaker of Igbo thought that the use of Latin characters to write it wasn't adequately representing the language, and of course came externally from Europe, right? So she decided to create her own writing system based on traditional Igbo art, and came up with a system for writing Igbo called Ndebe. And again, on Reddit, I spend too much time on Reddit. This person was talking about building a font for their language. Oh, that one isn't getting adjusted. And I volunteered to help her build a font. So she has a whole team of people that are busy working on producing a app to let people write in Ndebe on their phones and stuff, because of course many people in Nigeria evidently have phones. Well, that's true of most of Africa and probably most of the world, but do not necessarily have a PC. So I built a font version for her, and she was making changes to the writing system to add more stuff into it. And I have to check back on that. But, you're from France. Cool. Bonsoir. Je regrette, mais je ne parle pas français. That's about the limit of my French, other than a few swear words picked up from French speakers from Quebec when I was in the Canadian military, which I will not repeat. So I volunteered for an effort to provide a writing system for a language called Afaka, and nothing ever came of that. I built a font for Ndebe, but it's being updated, and I have to go back and work on that. I had a hard drive crash in the middle of all this and lost all my files, so I'm going to have to rebuild the Ndebe font, like all the featural stuff. Anyway, the font still exists. I have that. And now I'm doing Zenati, and this is kind of giving me a direction to pursue that I can be wholeheartedly behind. There are a lot of languages in the world that do not have their own writing system. And as I said, I wouldn't just spring out and say, oh, language X doesn't have a writing system. Here, have one. It's not my place to do that, I don't think. But I will facilitate other people. So if somebody has a design for their language that they would really like to see as a font, and I can do that part, I will do that if I can. So when the speaker of Shawiya came to me and said, "Hey, would you be willing to try this?" I said, "Sure, yeah, of course, I'll give that a shot." And this is the result here. So back to the original purpose, trying to take the original design and see if we can make it work in a more stylized manner. Now, I just realized that I've offset all of these things by 5, so that's going to make some of these adjustments a real pain. Maybe I should have done all that stuff beforehand. I should, however, save what I'm doing. Oh, and I should change the font info. Just a sec. Font info. Style name, regular. Can I change it to something else? Stylized. And build names. No, it puts it back to regular. Full name. This is not the way you're supposed to name these fonts, I'm sure. Apply. Rounding them to integers could result in small distortions. Keep fractional coordinates unchanged. Round them, and if I have to fix problems, I will fix the problems. So the end result here is going to be released as a font under the SIL open font license. So it's sort of open source for fonts. It means that a person can use it and do things with it and everything else freely. If they modify it, then their modified version has to remain under the SIL open license, legally speaking. SIL is an organization devoted to linguistics and language preservation and recording, and they have produced a number of fonts just to enable people to use their language with a font. So I thought there was a good choice for a license. So if I go up here, oh, I will note I have done something incorrectly here. Okay, I know I've done this. It was the way I did things in the past. It's not the best way to do things. If you go to create a font and you create a letter such as the K here, and then you go to create a modified version of it, which is a good example here. Here, this would be a glyph for qu. When you generate the name for this glyph, I've done 2 things wrong. I just noticed one. One is the standard practice is to put an underscore between it. So I named this glyph KW. It should actually be K_W. And when you go to generate it, you can produce a glyph like this as a reference of the original. And what that means is that this shape here would be based on the K that I just changed up here, this here. And I didn't leave the created forms like KW and things like that as a reference. If I had, then making the change here would also automatically make the change here. I didn't do that, and I should have done that. And that's one of a few things I should have done. The other thing I should have done was used anchors to put in shapes like this diacritic at the top. I didn't do that either. And I do know better, and I should have done that, but I haven't done that. So this shape here isn't going to change much, probably. I can still cut and paste stuff in there, but it's just making extra work for myself, and it's potentially making things inconsistent. So if I go here, I've narrowed this down to there and raised that up to there. That's all I've done. I now have to go through each of the glyphs that are based off that shape, like the one for GW, and raise that up to the same spot, and move that over until it's vertical. There, vertical, and drop it down to here. And if I had used the references like that, I wouldn't have to do that every time. How long do I... Oh, man. It is... Creating a font is half technical issues, creating the stuff correctly within the font software, testing it to make sure that it works in various word processors and things like that, fixing any problems like that. And the other half is artwork. It's art. It might just be a whole series of tiny little vector drawings that you're creating, but collectively, they have to have some consistencies in shapes and form and how they've been made and everything else like that. And that is the art part. And that adds immensely to the development of something like this. And honestly, it could take hours and hours and hours to do it, even though this is not a horribly complex font, even though I haven't done everything entirely correct. The stuff I haven't done entirely correct, I may go back and revisit this and fix all that so that I am using anchors properly and I am using references to the original and things. That would be the proper and ideal thing to do in the end. I have no idea how long it's going to take. Really no idea. What I wanted to do by coming on here is, on YouTube here, is start the process so that I'm inclined to finish the process. If I get enough of it done, then I'm going to be like, well, I got to finish that off. And also, also showcase this, but also it gives me a thing to stream about so that I can talk about font production and you people can answer or ask questions, right? I never know what is interesting to people. I mean, I find this stuff fascinating, but I recognize it's a really, really narrow niche, right? I spend more time on building writing systems than I do on building constructed languages, a lot more. And if I'm going to be honest, that's because building constructed languages is really freaking hard. If you want to do a good job, it's really hard. And I have seen some people that set the bar so high that it's kind of intimidating to do it, right? But writing systems, hey, there aren't that many people. Well, there are people working on writing systems. The examples of things that I see being posted to Orthography and all that on Reddit, for instance, or that show up on Instagram, are getting more and more and more polished. So I kind of feel like I have to up my game to keep up with that too. But I've completely lost my train of thought. I'm really not sure how long it's going to take. I mean, I'll do this for however long this stream lasts. We'll see what it looks like. I will reassess the situation, everything. Yeah, I should have done that. That's what my wife was saying to me too, was why didn't you start off with just creating the glyphs? But the problem is that creating the glyphs took a lot of time and effort. I'll back up. My process usually starts off with sitting in front of the TV, watching some TV show. My wife and I just basically not quite binged watch because we didn't watch we did watch multiple episodes. A TV show called Bones. It's fun. It's pretty straightforward. We'd watch dinner, watch it while we're eating dinner, and then I would sit down with graph paper, tons and tons of graph paper, and sketch shapes. That's how I built most of my my writing systems. I do a lot of drawing on graph paper, and then when I come up with a look I like, I come here and I start putting it in to the software. I tried a lot of things. I printed off this here on my printer and took a look at the shapes, and quite honestly, none of them look all that modern, right? They look very primitive. Of course, they're hand drawn or carved or whatever they are. And I did have other source documents for examples of Libico Berber writing and things like that. But it took me 3 or 4 tries, even in the font software, to come up with glyphs that I like the look of. So I should have streamed that, and I didn't. I will do it with other writing systems when I feel at the graph paper stage that I have a stronger handle on them. I didn't with this one. So it was iterative to get to this point, and it's going to be iterative to get beyond this point. But the actual production of it, I didn't want to go on YouTube and start streaming something that was going to look butt ugly, that I didn't have a feel for, because that seems sort of counterproductive, maybe. I want to produce things I'm proud of, and I guess I didn't want to show off the stage where I was really, really uncertain about it. And maybe I shouldn't have done. Maybe I should have just streamed it and had done with it, right? Okay, we're gonna put this one back to cyan, I guess, or magenta. Magenta. We'll go with magenta. If you've used FontLab Studio, you will know that the default colors for things are really, really pastel. They were so pastel that when I looked at streams, test streams of it, you couldn't tell the color differences. So I went in and made them really solid colors. So if you're using FontLab and you're wondering how my greens look so stupidly green, or the blue up here, which really on my monitor is kind of a purpley color, looks really dark blue and is actually kind of useless there. It's because I ramped up the values. So this looks really pink here, but on my screen, it's a very light pink color, which they call magenta and doesn't look anything like magenta to me at all, to be honest. Okay, then we're going to come down here. We're going to do the same thing. Straighten that out over there until it says 6. And then drop that down here. And like I said, I really don't know if this process is going to work at all. It might really be terrible by the time I'm done, and I'll be unhappy with it. I don't know. But because I have a font that I like the look of to begin with, I think I can start feeling my way through making the changes, and then take a look and see what they look like when they're done. I'm going to go back to H and just adjust it. I don't think it's going to stay this way, but we'll start off this way so that I can judge what it looks like when I type something out in the preview window. It's stupid. I adjust things right down to the pixel on the screen. The reality is that when you go to use any of these glyphs, they are so tiny you won't be able to notice the differences. But what the hey? Okay, so that gets flagged magenta. I'm picking the easy ones to do at the start because I will get a better feel for what things look like faster that way. And then we'll go look at the more complex glyphs that are going to be a royal pain in the butt to adjust. Flag. Yeah, to see, I would love push buttons for this stuff. I really would. Be so much easier. Right now, it's just a matter of going with the thick and thin. I'm going to have to put curves and all sorts of stuff in here, and that might cause problems too. But for now, I'm just making easy changes to suggest what I want it to look like, basically. Okay. Oh, this one here needs to be adjusted, same as the others, because I did not do it right the first time. Okay. And up to there. Nope, Control Z. Got all those points and not just the ones here. Thankfully, you can move all this stuff with just the arrow keys, which is nice. A little bit slower than dragging it, but a lot more consistent when done. And we will flag magenta that. Here. Now, like I said, the first version of this is deliberately blocky. Totally so. So it doesn't have any style of its own, really, to me. And I knew that when I built it that way. So I expect to have to make lots of minute changes, which are probably going to be irritating, in fact. Now, I guess that needs to be extended up too to be consistent. But we'll check that out. Maybe we're going to change that down the road. Oh, magenta. It's funny, originally I didn't see the point of having these colors until I realized that they were the best way going to track work progress. You could imagine, and that's why they were in there. Oh, this one, of course, did all that. The other one. Suppose I could have cut and pasted those shapes. The original version of this software that I had was version 5.1, and the manual for that was a PDF of over 1,000 pages. If you want to get an idea for just how complex font software can get. I've been using computers forever and a day. I think this is going to look really ugly when it's done, this shape. We'll see. Like since 1977 on mainframes. And I'm pretty confident with almost any software I use, but this stuff is intimidating. It really is. It's incredibly complex. And oh, I've done that one. And I won't say I'm overwhelmed by it because I'm learning it, but there's a lot of stuff in this software that I don't even know why it exists. Like what the point of the thing is. Oh, this is going to get simplified too. First of the vowels I've done. I think we're going to end up extending that a lot over to the left so that it overlaps through the next glyph, but we'll see. Flag, magenta. Man, I need text to speech. We ever create a font based on the glagolitic? Oh, interesting question. Will I ever create a font based on the glagolitic? Probably saying that wrong. I'm asking because it looks majestic. There's 3 versions, and the guys, I don't know how you say it, alphabet that we're using here is an unoriginal version of the Latin script. That is definitely a thing I could try doing. Sure. I know nothing about glagolitic. I mean, I know the name, but that's it. I don't know what countries that is spoken in. And I do recall there being 3 versions, right? Is that like, and I'm probably saying this wrong, Mkhedruli? Because I do remember seeing that. I do remember the name, and I'm pretty sure that I have looked at it before, but I don't really know anything about it. Oh, this is going to be problematic because it has a curve in it already. So we'll see how that goes. There. Now, I grab that and move it up to there. That needs to be moved up. Probably to the halfway mark. And then we need to drag that up like that. And fix a few things probably. Actually, it looks like we need to remove a few points in there entirely. And then drag that over and reconnect. And then that's not horizontal, fix. And that's not horizontal, fix. Okay, so that's not that bad. And we can select that shape and copy it. Where is copy? Come on. No. There is a way to select the whole shape. There. Did that get it all? Not quite. Okay. Let me catch up with that. Looked it up, and apparently it's the oldest known Slavic alphabet. Well, he's saying that there's the Gaj, probably mispronounced, alphabet, an unoriginal version of the Latin script. See, that's happened a lot of places. The Latin script is pretty evolved. The glyphs are pretty distinct, and it's pretty widespread. And of course, English is the most popular secondary language there is. So, or one of at least, but probably the most. So people are accustomed to Latin writing and things like that. But it seems a shame to me if a language had its own writing system and it stopped being used. It seems a shame to me that that's the situation, and it would be neat to be able to change that down the road. So yeah, I could do that. I mean, that's just adding another thing to the list of things to do, and I'd be happy to give that a shot. there's got to be some fonts for the existing forms already. You would think, but it would be interesting to look at. I'd have to look at it and see what I think of the situation and things like that first, of course. But sure, Control copy. Let us go look for D dot down here. Actually, I can go back up here and copy everything and go down here and get rid of all of this, leaving the dot, and put it back in again. And why did it get moved over? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, I don't know why I did that. That's very odd. Started as an abjad and became an alphabet. Okay, yep. It seems to me, as an ignorant foreigner who doesn't speak most of these languages, that the Abugida abjad style of writing languages was one of the more popular systems out there early on, and that they tend to evolve towards alphabets because alphabets are easier to learn and more efficient for the communications. They take up more space on the page, but paper and all that isn't all that expensive these days. It's not like we're writing on medieval parchments where parchments were expensive. You wanted to cram as much in there as possible. So I guess if it started as an abjad and became an alphabet, works like Greek, letters represent numbers and words. Okay, yeah. I've always found that confusing with ancient Greek, that they used letters for the numbers. I understand, but it's a little odd. Oh, you're Croatian. Okay. I will look at that, and I will definitely ask you when it comes up. How are things if you're in Croatia right now? How are things in Croatia? If you're in the UK or the US and a person of Croatian origin who speaks the language, that's a different situation. But just wondering how things are. I've been following the news in the Ukraine, and it's distressing, I have to say. Okay, that has been edited. I know I haven't edited the diacritics yet. We're going to get there. But I will be able to cut and paste those mostly. Or go put the anchors in the way I'm supposed to. That's possible too. What else have we got here? Any others that use that shape? Yeah, right here. So we copied everything. Go back here. We go here. We get rid of that. Paste this in. And then get rid of this shape. Boom. Now we can Control-Alt, copy that, and go back down here to, what was it I saw down here that was using that? There. Weird that it pastes it off like that. I don't understand what's happening. Okay, you can be magentaed. As can, oh, it is. Oh, it's done. Okay. I could just cut and paste this, but it's just as easy to just do this. well, relatively easy. Funny, I was a linguistics major in university. I am a terrible language person. I'm terrible at learning languages. It's oh, it's the same shape here. It's kind of embarrassing. So I know a few words here and there in dozens of languages, but I only really speak English fluently. Things here are more miserable than ever, except for Dalmatia and Istria. They have to be perfect for tourists. Oh, oh, hello, Endo. How you doing? Endo was talking with me in email about um, one of my other fonts there, my Ashwadi. Just earlier today. Okay, so that is not magenta, but can be for now. Magenta. I should work on these ones up here first and get them all done. You can be magenta. Next easiest is oh, that one can be. I'm doing fine. How could I not be doing fine? I'm live streaming on YouTube to people that are interested in constructed languages and writing systems. Can't get any better. Streaming is enormous fun. A lot of work, but enormous fun. Yeah, there's a question. What do I do with that? I guess I've got to make it just long and narrow. The other thing I figured about putting style on this stuff here is it would show me weaknesses in my design. And this might be one of them. I don't know. We'll have to see how it looks when I lay out something in it. That's just going to get narrow as it goes up there. So quite literally, current width. Oh, it doesn't do it when it's selected. No, it isn't doing it. It's supposed to tell me the width of things. So I think that's going to need to get knocked down to there. Like that, right down to the line. And then this is going to need to get knocked up. Oh, that's not going to work. That's going to need to go up. To about there. But that's not quite right. Control Z, back down. And we take all of this and move it up. This was the sort of thing I think this thing was going to cause problems. Feral Kitty, I'm making a simple alphabet similar to Greek for English. Just for fun. English is too inconsistent to have the Latin alphabet. You know, you think that, and that is definitely a valid point. Our orthography for English is absolutely hopeless. It really is. If I say the word light, the fact that it has a G and an H in there that aren't pronounced is ridiculous. The fact that it uses an I to represent I instead of E, like most other languages that are written with the Latin alphabet, is silly too, in my opinion. And there's been lots of attempts to refine the orthography of English. So making a simple alphabet similar to Greek for English, cool, very cool. Are you producing it as a font, or are you just trying to produce it as a handwritten one for now, or doing it in graphics programs or something like that? Just curious. What is going to happen with this? I think that is going to need to stay down. The whole thing is going to move down. like that until it's the right width, which is going to be in around there somewhere. We'll probably raise that one up to there. That looks kind of close-ish, maybe vaguely, perhaps. Enough to be semi-consistent, which is all I need for the moment. Bosanchica. Oh, that's interesting. I've never heard of that. I would not only have forgotten about it, I'd never heard about it in the first place. So if you ever want to resurrect the Glagolitic, don't forget about Bosanchica. It's a Croatian Cyrillic made in Bosnia, only used in the USA and Canada. That is a neat little thing. It's not used over in Europe, though, eh? I will be saving this chat, and I will take a look at that and look it up as well. I can sort of read Cyrillic. When I was in university, I took a little Russian. Я говорю очень плохо по-русски. But I'm not a really good. Okay. If you're just making an alphabet, Feral Kitty, go take a look on, assuming you're on Windows, go take a look on the web for Type Light 3.2. It's free font software that will let you create glyphs and export it as a font. It won't let you do any of the fancy stuff that I'm doing with Adobe OpenType font scripting and stuff to produce ligature forms and things like that. It's very limited, but it's free, and it's the program I started with, and it's terrific. If you decide you like it, there is Type from the same company. It's a New Zealand developer, I think. Create Software, I think, with an 8 in it. For not too much. If you want the full featured stuff, then there's other programs you can use, and they vary in their complexity and their capabilities and everything. But Type Light isn't a bad place to start. Might have a hard time finding it just because the name isn't that distinctive, but we'll see. Okay, all of those are done. These are going to be really complex. Guess I'll do the vowels next. So what we're going to do is shrink these down to be the center of where they were, and then leave the rest of the changes for further iterations, because I haven't even looked back at that reference thing on Bodoni. I'm just trying to make sure that I have the thick and thin part of it going. And that's going to be enough for the first stage. Like I said, all these things iterate endlessly. Try a thing, see how it works. Try a thing, see how it works. When they work, then you go look and see what impact it has on everything else. And maybe you have to change another thing, and it ripples through the whole project and all that sort of stuff. This is going to be more complex. Okay. First off, that's going to go up to there. This is going to come down to here. And that is going to go right up to the top like that. And again, lots of things are going to have to change down the road, but that will start. Then we're left with ones that are going to be royal pains in the butt. So we will we'll do the ones down below too, and then I'll magenta these. Flag, magenta, and come down here. I am trying to produce a YouTube video on font software choices for people. I have some of it done, and then those don't need any change at all, so they can just stay the way they are, magentaed. Oh, I better save. But it's slow going because I'm not that good at producing YouTube videos. Still working on it. I don't have my production techniques down pat. I'm still learning how to edit and all that. I mean, I've produced lots of videos on YouTube, but mostly they're not to the standard I would like to be outputting. I got to work on that. Just let me adjust this here, magenta these two, and then I will go see what comment. I don't have my text to speech going like I do in on Twitch, unfortunately. So the only indication I have that you guys have said something is the fact that it pops up on the left there. I have some fascination for alphabets and linguistics. I spent time and learned the Hangul, Greek, and Cyrillic writing systems, and I've been lightly working on all of Japanese's. Yeah, it's kind of amazing to me that in Japan they have not one, not two, but three separate writing systems that they use, and that they're used interchangeably depending on what's being written. My wife and I have, this is a bit of a departure, but my wife and I have gotten kind of addicted on these long streams on YouTube of train trips. And we were watching ones from Japan. And I see all the writing going there. And I just, two things come to mind. One, I want to learn how to read it. And realistically, I would love to learn Japanese, but I don't know if I ever will. And two, I want to make writing systems like it that aren't it. And that is extremely hard. I've tried a couple of times to come up with a logographic system that didn't just look like I'd ripped off Chinese or Japanese or anything. Well, Japanese is borrowed from Chinese, etc. I absolutely love the Hangul. And I have tried something like that. My new demotic writing system is like that. Here, let me load up. I got to rebuild it, but open installed fonts. Oh, I guess it'll be a ways down. No. New demotic. There's new demotic. So this is new demotic, one of my writing systems that I came up with. It is my attempt at what ancient Egyptian hieratic and demotic might have evolved into if it had survived to the modern day. Entirely my artistic efforts at doing that. It's not really based on anything scientific. I went and took a look at the glyphs that were used then, and then started building a font, basically. And it has stuff stacked kind of the way Demotic did and things like that. Here, preview. So that was Shawiya in Zenati. It's still Shawiya here because this is typed in preview. So H-A-O. Hatshepsut. It isn't how the Egyptians actually spelt it. It's how Egyptian scholars write it. But I worked out a system to have it do all the stacking like that by basically treating it like a syllabary. So there's code that goes through and says, if you type in HA, then you put in these first two glyphs here stacked like that. And it doesn't happen with all of them. So sometimes things are full height and width like this one. And I'm happy with it. I really like it. And I've done one neat thing with it where, if I can get this working again, you can type in a square bracket and then hot ship suit and a square bracket, and it will build the cartouche around it. And the way it does that is, again, in the scripting. When you go here, you can see that there are a lot of glyphs that have the lines above and below them, tons of them. So basically, every pair of glyphs that can be stacked has another version with the lines above and below them. So when you type in a left bracket, square bracket, any text you type after that will use the versions of the glyphs that have the lines above and below them until you hit a right square bracket, and then it will stop. And that's the result. And I'm really happy with that. And then if you type regularly, it just does the regular glyphs there and everything. Unfortunately, like I said, I had a hard drive crash, and the features file for this is pulled up from the font itself. And when you write Adobe OpenType font scripting, you write it in, the code for that scripting system. When you export a font, the font rendering takes that and rewrites it, and it's no longer very human readable. So I'm going to have to go back through and study how I did all this and rebuild the scripting for all this. I don't have to redo the glyphs, but I'm going to have to redo all the scripting to control all this stuff at some point. And I haven't done that yet. I had to do that with the Ashwadi and everything. So do I. I absolutely love those. I like stuff that's highly compressed and solid, thick lines, and you might have guessed that already by this one and Zenati. I'm trying to pull myself away from that, but I haven't succeeded yet. But that's my new Demotic anyway. I'm very happy with that one. Now, let's go tackle this, which is going to be a pain. Oh, now, actually, maybe it won't. We can pull all that down. Then pull this down. And then move it all back up again from here. About there. How that looks. These need many more changes. I'm just making really broad changes to see if I can figure out how to do all this. Oh, there's some down here that still need to be done too. Oh, the other thing to note is I'm probably doing all sorts of things wrong. If somebody who knows how to do font design is coming on here, I might be making all sorts of like easily avoidable mistakes. I'm trying to learn so that I improve, but there is a lot to it. And the more videos I watch on how to use this software, the more aware I become of how much I still have to learn. But I've got the software, so that's the first hurdle in that process. There are other programs out there that are undoubtedly very, very capable and very good choices and everything else like that. I think personally that this is probably state of the art or real close to it. So since I shelled out the money for it, this is the one I'm going to use. But it does seem to be really, really capable. It's just not cheap. That's all. Really not cheap. How are we going to do this? I'm going to move that up like that. Then we are going to grab the knife, make a cut. Move that down. That over until it's vertical. Yeah, that's vertical there. Okay. And then that might all need to be moved down too, but we'll leave it there for the moment. Again, if I had properly done the referenced glyphs instead of decomposing them, then I wouldn't be doing a lot of this stuff because it would be the variance down here would be based off of references that I had done above. And that is the correct way to do it. But because I was kind of, no, not that one. I was kind of feeling my way through all of these things. I didn't do that. And I should have. Mea culpa. So that goes up. Before I got into doing fonts, honestly, I never thought about them at all. They were just, oh yeah, fonts. Of course, there's tons of fonts. They exist. I never thought about people making them. I just grabbed one that looked right or whatever I was doing. Oh, that looks cool. I'll use that one. And now I'm aware of how much work goes into it and how much time is spent on it. And I am much, much, much more appreciative. If you look at this, there's this huge gap in here where there's nothing there. In a standard font of any type, all of that is filled in. All of these things have a thing for them. Somebody's done all of the stuff. They're variations on other things usually, but it's a lot of stuff. Right. So the first reform introduced some vowels. I'm going to, yeah, okay. Yor and yer and ye and ye. You're obviously fascinated by glagolitic. I like that. Okay. See, with me, I am an English speaker. That's it. We don't have that much interesting in the way of linguistic history there to me. I mean, obviously things happened, but basically English was derived from Saxon, meaning, or Anglic, meaning Norman French, and all of the technical words in English basically come from the Norman French side, and all of the most common words come from the Anglo-Saxon side, and that's about all she wrote. Other than the fact that so much exists in English that is historical. Oh, that was the thing I was going to say there with you. No, I'm going to raise that back up so that I can grab these, raise them up. A lot of the useless words in our orthography in English are there and represent history um, of the language too. So there is some potential value to them, maybe. I don't know. Still, it's an interesting project. I've seen a number of people try it, and honestly, a lot of efforts that weren't that good, in my opinion. So it's not an easy thing to come up with a good writing system for English. It really isn't. Hello again. I will presume that means that you left and have now come back. This is a little dry to watch, I'm sure. Thank you to everybody who is. I really appreciate it. But I do recognize that it's kind of dry, probably extremely dry. You guys can be magenta too. No, 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 no. You ate dinner. Hey, eating is important. I get that. It's kind of humbling to do a stream and have anybody show up, you know? Um, what was it? Somebody was saying, it's just something. I feel like the only people watching this are linguists and language nerds. Absolutely, sure. If there's anybody out there watching this and they weren't um, interested in the way language works, I would be extremely surprised that they were here. Um, I think we take language for granted, and it is the most powerful tool ever created by humans. Every other thing that we can do really has been improved by the first tool, language. And we take it for granted. We don't even think about it, most of us, particularly English speakers. English speakers are really obnoxious when it comes to that. I mean, maybe other language speakers do the same thing. I really don't know. I can't speak from their perspective, but English speakers are really kind of imperialistic about language. And that's only reinforced by the fact that English is so popular in the world um, because of, well, because of a number of things, but in large part because of the power of American media and movies and things like that. We tend to take the terribly obnoxious viewpoint that English is the only thing needed, right? English is the perfect language, and everybody else really should just learn English. A lot of English speakers don't want to learn another language because they already speak English, and why would they want to waste their time doing that? That is a terrible attitude. Terrible. And oh dear, what is going to happen here? That is going to go up. That is going to come down. This is going to go down. The curve on that is going to be terrible, so we're going to have to refine that down the road. Yeah, that looks awful. And way too wide here. So we're going to have to grab both of these and move them over to about there, probably. And then adjust the curves on these. Maybe like that for now. Even that looks weird. I think it's going to end up being a lot narrower down the road. And there is another glyph somewhere here based on that, isn't there? Yes. So Control A, Control Copy, up here, Control A, delete, Control V, and otherwise leave it the same. Oh, and this one here, same thing. I don't know why I have it in two spots. I'm going to have to go into the scripting and see if I'm doing something inconsistent there. But for now, I'm just going to leave them in the 2 spots and save. How do you think of glyphs for your language? I'm having trouble since I'm trying to make an art lang with 500 letters. Oh, if you can avoid that. Oh, I know. Wilako. Yeah. It is a terrible opinion and it is very common. I am in Canada. We have English and French as our official languages. I took French in high school. I didn't have any choice. I hated learning French. Now I wish I spoke it. I hated it then because I think it was being shoved at me. You have to learn this. You have to learn this. It's an official language. And because I didn't know any Francophones. There were none in my community. I'm in Western Canada on Vancouver Island, and I grew up on a small island off the coast of Vancouver Island. There were no Francophones. I never heard anybody who spoke French as their native language until I got to grade 12 of high school last year, whereupon I no longer had to take any French. We finally got a Quebecois teacher in, and she was apparently a fantastic teacher. It was great. People really learned a lot of French. I didn't have to take it, so I didn't. And as a result, I am essentially monolingual. If you will make an exception for the fact that I speak a few words in like half a dozen languages just because I took linguistics courses. How do I think of glyphs for my language? Okay, these ones here were inspired by these, the left-hand column, the Numidico there. These are ancient symbols that were used for Libico Berber. The Berber languages, the Eastern Berber languages of North Africa. So that particular picture and like 6 other ones were sent to me by the person that asked me about giving this a shot. So that's where these designs came from, was inspired by those shapes. But if you are trying to make a art lang, I would suggest highly that you try and reduce the number of letters that you need there by making things featurely, if you can. So if we go here, this is S, okay? That's the S I've created. There is Z. This marker down here, the diacritic at the bottom, indicates that whatever consonant is drawn above it is voiced. So that lets me have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 less, at least 13, yes, less glyphs, because I've made a distinction between unvoiced and voiced consonants with that diacritic. Then there is instances where there is a dot over top down here, or a mark over top. I used the reverse of this up here to indicate that the consonant is, well, effectively rounded. It has a W after it. So ga, this would be G with the W turning ga into gua. So another diacritic, a featural marker to let me reuse the G consonant, which if you look at it, is the K consonant with the voiced marker at the bottom. And then this is GW, so it has this rounding marker above it. The languages that this is intended to represent also have a variation on some of their stops like T and D, which they mark in the Latinized way of spelling this with a dot under them. So I have kept that. Here is D with a dot. It's actually a diamond shape over top, but it's intended to represent that. And when you type it in, you will type in D and a dot, and it will give you this glyph instead of the D. So that is another variation on a featural thing. You can see it here with the M dot, with the R dot. These are all pronounced differently. There's a Z dot down here in the bottom corner. These are all different things where I can reuse the glyph, but mark it with as a specific subclass of the consonants with featural markers. If you can do any of that stuff to reduce the number from 500, you'll be doing yourself a favor. That let it stand at that. I've used that a lot. I do a lot of sort of featural things like that to decrease the number of glyphs I need to create. Where you get the shapes from, I tend to start with graph paper. I draw an awful lot of stuff on graph paper. Let me grab some of it here. I just take a pencil, an eraser, and graph paper and get it in front of the camera, draw things like this, and then mark it in to see how it looks. And I burn through tons and tons of graph paper before I start working on the font, because then I can try laying shapes out to see what they look like. I like the graph paper because I can be consistent. So I'll say, well, I'm going to make a shape that is 9 tall by 7 wide, and everything is going to basically fit into that shape with some exceptions, but that will be the standard shape size. And then I can be consistent with how wide lines are and how curves are drawn and everything else like that. And the graph paper makes it a little simpler. Maybe that'll help you. But if you got 500 glyphs, you're going to have a lot of work to do. There's got to be a way to keep the number down. If there's 500 of them, it is going to take forever to learn it. Unless what you're writing is a logography and each glyph represents an actual word or part of a word or something like that. Like, say Mandarin or the kanji in Japanese or something like that. That might be a little bit different. Then you're learning that one symbol, whatever the shape may be, and that has a whole word associated with it. That's a little bit different. But 500, man, that is a lot of glyphs. Yeah, what else? Laco, the Gauge Latin alphabet is one of your 2 native writing systems. Okay, nice, of course. The Slovene alphabet is the same, but without a ch, and I don't know what that is with a D with a line through it. The dumb thing is Slovene has 3 more vowels and no additional vowel letters. Croatian language doesn't have the j sound, but we still have a letter for it. Yeah, Europe is scattered with languages where they said, hey, everybody's using this Latin. How can we adapt it? And then they didn't do a great job of it, or they didn't keep up with it when the language changed. Maybe you have the j sound there because you used to have that sound and don't anymore. I don't know. Or maybe you adopted it from a dialect that did have it, or something. But yeah, Latin has proved to be a good writing system. It's useful, it's flexible, and it's become pretty predominant, I guess. That doesn't mean it's perfect. A palatal affricate. Z, za, za. Palat, za, 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 za. Like that sounds more like a J. Okay, so for this, We're going to knock those up to there. Up like that. Down like that. Way too wide, so these have to be brought in. Okay, no, I'd have to go look it up. I can do this, but maybe not midstream. I do know the IPA more or less, but I still end up checking things all the time. Okay, so for foreign words, sure. So we need to pull these back or move these forward. Pull these back. To about there. Again, this is going to end up being refined a lot over time. Oh, I have an extra there. That's odd. Yeah, in English, from Saxon, you had eth and eth. Misspelled phonetic symbol for it. Okay. J. J. That Z symbol there is a retroflex Z, isn't it? Like retroflex J. J. Or J. Or something like that. Again, I have to go to the IPA reference that has spoken versions of it and repeat these all the time. J. 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 Maybe that. Like I said, linguistics major, not necessarily a good one. Okay, we are going to take that as the model, even though I don't like the way it looks. And perpetuate it down here and over there. No. Control Z. Get rid of that. Then paste. Then straighten this out. There. I need to get you people on my Discord is what I need, I guess. Because then I could hear it directly. Don't know why that moved that way. Here, just a sec. Let me bring up a browser. Go to no. IPA audio illustrations. Now, of course, it isn't showing the one we're looking for here. Well, that's the other thing that happens is that you sometimes just can't hear, literally cannot hear a sound that isn't part of your phonetic inventory. And it's really difficult when you can't reproduce it. So a palatal fricative, probably that one right there then, eh?
Ja, a ja.
Serbo-Croatian. Okay, is that the right one there?
Ja, a ja.
So it would become ja, a ja, with the symbol that you're talking about there. Because it's not using the same Z with a curl there, although that might appear down here. Probably not linked down here. No. Oh, there.
Ja, a ja.
Ja, a ja. No, it has fricatives, and then you end up digging around looking for things like that. That's not the one. Okay. Okay. Well, I made an attempt. Considering the whole point was that actually that sound isn't needed, it's kind of an odd discussion when you think about it. Okay, we're taking this and copying it over to here. I should have done it over here first. I could just take that, and I need to move the dot on this too. Okay. Only those two left, basically. Okay. See, despite having taken linguistics, I find the differences between some of those sounds to be really hard to hear. Yeah, with a D before it. Yep. I find those really hard to distinguish. It's like in, I hope I'm getting this right. In Hindi, you have aspirated consonants and not aspirated consonants, and those are so hard for English speakers to hear. The difference in the B between bat and bat, bat, bat. And I think I'm doing it okay there, but really hard to hear. And it would just typically be ignored by most English speakers. They wouldn't get it at all. And a similar thing is happening there, trying to hear the difference between je and je and yeah. I can listen to it, I can try and reproduce it, but I don't think I'm going to actually hear that difference most of the time myself at all. Not unless I was to try and learn to speak Serbo-Croatian and be talking to speakers, and then of course you'd pick stuff like that up better. But when I went to this one here, that goes right up to, oh, it's not showing my values. 1, 2, 3, 4, and up a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, and down a bit. So when I go to, which one was I doing? This one here. That needs to come up to around there. My font software is supposed to be showing me numerical values on the left-hand side. And like many things with this program, it seems to have just stopped doing it for no apparent reason, which is really annoying. So we're going to fix all these eventually. Going to be tons of changes in here. But for now, I'm just going to rough them out so that they're close to the values that I know I'm going to want to have probably. Oh yeah, right. I've got that extra point there. No reason for it to exist. Yeah, that isn't working right either. Interesting, really interesting. Save. And then I'm going to want that, Control A, Control Copy, to go in down here, where it's going to replace this whole shebang here. But of course, I can't select the whole thing because that isn't working the same way anymore. It used to be, oh, maybe I can. Gone. Nope, not quite. And then it moves that for no reason. Control B, but I can select this shape and move it back. That doesn't make any sense to me at all either. That center line is going to center up about there. And the margins are still right. Good. Save. Oh, change both of those to magenta. And everything should be magenta except these two, which have been changed, so they can be changed to magenta. No, there. And control. We don't need to color stuff that doesn't exist. Magenta. Save. What did I miss? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. There was a lot of palatalized vowels and consonants and whatnot in Russian that I found very hard to produce and hear. And I mean, it's been a frightening number of years, probably 40 years since I took courses in Russian, so I barely remember anything, right? But that was a lot of work to do that too, to try and figure that out. And it's I don't know what I was going to say. Lost it completely. Okay, if I go back over to here, where am I talking about here? We're talking about preview. And type in Tira Zenati. That is the first pass on trying to change the way this looks. Obviously, that's not going to do. It needs to have a lot more rounding and things done in there that it has at the moment. So I'm going to have to go in and do those. But that is the start of the attempt to look at the way Bodoni has these. Oh, you can't see when I point there. The little serif marks on the bottom there. They're much thinner here than what I have. I don't have any actual curves like the O or the D or the B do here, or the N for that matter. Not quite the same way. And I'm going to have to look at the way I've done the changes that I've made. Come back. Thank you. To get that going. That's going to take a bit. It's going to take a lot of bit. But it's the bare minimum started. I expect this is going to take a while to do. Yeah, well, if you take a look at this shape here, this is too thin, the X in the center there. it needs to curve up and widen more. And I'm going to have to craft that. I want to put curves in here and here probably. This should probably be turned into an O shape, much like Bodoni has, almost entirely, even though it's actually an R. I want to make changes to make it look more like that without being identical to that, because I am trying to build its own identity here. This here is too thick, needs to be changed in its shape to be thin, and it can probably be moved up and underneath this a bit more. Things like that. But the only part that's probably right here is this here, except this needs to be even thinner. But that shape there is probably the only bit that's actually correct in all the stuff that I've done to date in trying to make this happen. Now it's going to get more complex, unfortunately. But I still think that I'm kind of on target here, because what I originally wanted to do was build a big, blocky, solid, simple font. So that people could look at it and decide if they liked the shapes, if the shapes were distinct enough from each other that they weren't too confusing, if it was relatively easy to learn, to read, relatively clear. All of the vowels have this descender on them to try and make it clear that that is a vowel, not a consonant. All the consonants do not have the descender. All the vowels that follow a consonant are attached to the previous one. For instance, that sort of thing. So having done the blocky font and put it out for people to take a look at and see what they think, I can now look at trying to refine the shapes to produce a different style. And I've chosen Bodoni as a model. And that's going to take some time. I just want to check something here. Forgive me. YouTube is so very weird. I am currently streaming live, and when I go to live, I cannot see how many people are watching. I can only see previous videos. But if I go to videos, I don't see the current one live. It's all very odd. I was trying to see if there was an easy way to find out how many people are out there. I mean, obviously, I know there's 3 or 4 of you, but it's, I don't know, an ego thing maybe. It's interesting to see how many people are watching. Okay. Now, oh, more there. While you're still streaming, I talk about the glagolitic. So it has a schwa and letters for you, ye, ya, and besides the yor and yer, it had vowels too and an unnecessarily long O letter. Real vowels too. Okay. Well, those are all. How many vowels does the language have? I mean, English has more than 5 vowels. We have a lot more, and almost none of them are adequately represented by the ones that we use to write it, right? The romanization of English is remarkably poor in that sense. And then, of course, not so much in North America, but definitely in Europe, definitely in the UK, there are so many dialects that pronounce them all differently that that's the biggest challenge that I think you're going to have in trying to come up with a different writing system for English. Because, I mean, I say bottle and you can hear the T and the L, but somebody from the UK might well say bottle, and there's no T and no L. And then somebody from the southern states might say bottle, and it sounds like it's a D. And I don't know how much other languages have the same sort of variation when it comes to dialects, but English seems to me to be just hopeless. It's all fine and dandy if you pick one standard for English and go to that, British received pronunciation or whatever the standard is for Canada or the US. I actually think Canadian English is uh, pretty clear and simple. We pronounce most of the sounds without doing too many weird things to them, except for the thing called Canadian Rising, where certain diphthongs are really shortened on the tail end, if that makes any sense. So instead of saying ow, we say ow, which is why Americans don't hear that for the most part, which is why they stereotype Canadians as saying a boot instead of about. We don't say a boot, we say about. But to the US, that would be about, a much longer vowel, a much longer diphthong or whatever. So, okay, I'm not done streaming yet. I might be sometime soon because I got to go pick up my wife in a little bit. She's at work, but I'm not done yet. But I am going to go take a bio break. So I will be back in a moment. I hope you'll stick around. I'm just going to be doing more of this stuff, and I'll probably be doing more of this next stream, trying to refine the shapes and get it to look the way I want so that it's a more stylized, interesting looking font. But that's an ongoing process. So I'm going to be back in a moment. Well, probably several moments, but it's going to be a bio break, and I'm going to make some more coffee, and I will be back in a bit. Please stick around. Okay, back. Sorry about that, but I'm now re-coffeed. There's some old joke about coffee being a tool to turn, or programmers being a tool to turn coffee into programming language, programming scripts, and that is very, very true. Okay, let me catch up on the chat here. I will talk. Yes, by all means. Now that you're mentioning poor English orthography, Serbo-Croatian, well, just Croatian, a language of straightforward orthography needs a spelling reform. Does it? Does it really? When I was trying to learn Russian, one of the things that they stressed was the fact that Russian actually had pretty accurate orthography. That things were more or less pronounced the way they were written. And in 1980, I went to the USSR for a month on a language immersion course. And the first thing I discovered was that almost nobody seemed to be speaking Russian the way it was spelt. And that didn't seem to be the case at all. I have a feeling that it's better than most, maybe, but something like hello was spelt Здравствуйте. But almost everybody I talked to said it as Здравствуйте, not at all the way it was spelled. So, if Serbo-Croatian is actually pretty straightforward for an orthography and still needs a spelling reform, that doesn't surprise me. But then that's probably why you're talking about reviving Glagolitic too, right? Because you think that it would be more accurate and it's more historical. And yeah, actually, I'm going to pull Glagolitic up in the browser too while I think about it, because we're talking about it here, and I don't know if my brain is saying the right or showing the right images to me. Glagolitic font. Glagolitic free fonts. Just show me the writing system, please. No, I do not want to subscribe to your mailing list. Okay. Oh, that looks neat. I don't know if this is a good representation of it or not. But it does look really interesting. That's just Cyrillic there. That's really neat looking. A little odd in the way some glyphs aren't the same height and things like that. That's the first thing I would want to change is this shape here, the horizontal line, not at the top, but just down from it, should be the same height as the other lines that are over here, to my way of thinking. It just looks odd that the height changes all the time. But it's definitely interesting. And this writing system isn't used anymore? Like, does it appear anywhere? Do you still have it in old signs and things like that? Do people still read it, or is it completely ignored and forgotten? Croatian is evolving, but the spelling is not. And yes, it's written exactly as it's pronounced. Well, that's good. That's always good. There's so many languages that carry a heritage in their spelling that isn't even remotely accurate, I don't think. Okay. I was going to try changing the R to be rounded so it was more like an O. And that doesn't mean this. Oh, that's the thing I was thinking. When I was in the bathroom there, I was realizing that I've gone and done this reform of the spacing that moves everything over 5 pixels. And that was a pain because it wasn't lining up on the grid. And I like to line things up to be consistent. And that all I had to do, now that I've done that, is change that to 0 and everything will pull back. And I could just change it back to 5 on that and it should move everything over again. So now these should all be back on the grid lines, which is useful. Okay, so back to R. Glagolitic is sometimes used, but only in Istria or on signs and logos. I'm not even familiar with Istria, but I'm going to assume it's a region of the area. And only on signs and logos. That's a little odd, actually, when you think about it. A little odd because I would expect it would be used more if people could still read it. But that's okay. Part of your identity, right? So what I'm going to do is cut that. And then drag that down to, and this over to about there. Make this more like down 4. And then I guess I've got to do comparable cuts, but I'll draw the line first. We're going to connect that to that, which will re-solidify the shape. And then we go back in, and on this line here, we say to curve. And that gives me the controls to adjust the curve. Maybe move that back to there itself. Then extend the curve more. So that's the start of it there. I have to do it in all 4 corners, so go back and grab the knife. Try it in each of the corners. And then grab the cursor and move that down to there. That right over to there. That over to there. This up 4. And then go back in and redraw the Beziers. You used to just draw the straight or the Beziers directly in the previous version. Now you have to go and set them to curve, but that's okay. We can do that. It's actually a little simpler, perhaps, because the curves that it drew before often basically sucked. So that to 2, that to 2, 2. I'm talking grid lines here when I'm saying 2. That to 2. And that to 2. Now, because I broke the shape, it's taken out the gap in the center there. It's no longer there. All I have to do is select this and go reverse contour, and it will put the hole back in again. When you have a shape with another shape inside of it here, these are drawn clockwise and counterclockwise. So if you draw a shape, it is clockwise by default, I think. There should be a little arrow along here. No, counterclockwise. Any shape inside it that you want to appear, you have to reverse the direction so it goes another way, if that makes sense. Now Now, I actually think that needs to be narrowed down even more. Why is that not letting me move it there? So that it's not quite so blocky. Obviously, the square shape in the center needs to be adjusted as well. But when you go look at my preview here, this shape here is now quite changed. And maybe I could leave it square like that rather than rounding the whole thing too. But I think it probably needs to be rounded and narrowed slightly so that this distance of 3 grid squares here becomes 2. So I will try that and see how it looks. Grab the knife and cut the corners here, which again immediately makes it a solid shape instead of the shape that we want. We're going to raise that up and move it to there. That down and move it to there. Same on the other side. Oh, not there. Wrong one. Same on the other side. No. Control Z. Grab the whole thing instead of just the point. That there, this back up to here like it should be. And then we can add more connections in there and see if that looks better than it did. I don't know if it will. This is the art part of feeling all this stuff out to see how it looks when it's done. And I expect it to take time and be confusing. Curve, 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 curve. Now, okay. Sorry. A glagolitic is like a collector's item. It looks fancy, but it's just used only for decorative purposes. Okay. Sure. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and put that to, say, 3 points there. This to 6, 6, 3. And we will be consistent even if it isn't going to work exactly right the way it is. And then we will reverse contour again. Okay, so now when we go back to preview, you can see it's kind of blocky at these changes down here, and that probably needs to be a completely smooth curve, more or less. I'm not sure if I like it narrowed. Maybe I'll go back, other way, out, and I guess the first thing I've got to do is shorten these lines here. Because it's very sort of still. It's not a smooth curve on everything. the reference. Bodoni goes very narrow. I'm not going that narrow, and I could look at that too. And then on the inside of the O, it is really need to be able to bring that up. Where is that image? Down here, is it? No, it is not. It is not doing its thing. Where did I have that? Was that in the browser? It is in the browser. Okay. So this shape here, can you see that? No, you don't. Okay. I've got no way to put a pointer on screen because I've brought this up as an image on here. But the inside of the O is vertical and curves to horizontal very quickly, whereas the outside of it has a continuous curve around. So it's wider at the midpoint on the horizontal. So I'm going to try and look at that here. Here, I can do it that way there, can't I? Yeah, so this curve here is pretty vertical very quickly, but this one here is very rounded and extends out more. So I want to do some of that, I guess. And to do that, I'm going to have to zoom in and bring these in, both of them, both sides. How about right to there and there? That one there is not lined up. There. And then down here, same thing. Into. That is not lined up quite right. There, that's better. Still not a graceful curve. This probably needs to come down more. Right to there. And there. This up more. To there and there. And these are still too thick. So, since I'm zoomed in and can see it better, I'll go down to 2.5 at this level here and up to 2.5. And then how are we looking at this? If I move that, first off, if I move that over a pixel, then it's on the line, although it's producing all sorts of error messages. I shrink that up to there, and why is that not letting me adjust it? I know it's not vertical. It's somehow got this particular curve here on a vertical line that's offset, and it won't let me go left, right, and I'm not sure why. No, it only lets me extend. That curve is screwed. And that's too sharp anyway. But it's really off when it, oh. This one doesn't have that problem, and the ones on the other side don't appear to have that problem. So I'm going to end up redrawing this line. So we'll delete that line and go grab the pen, draw it again. Then select it. Go back to curve. That over to actually vertical. This is the thing I've seen happen before in this. And I don't know why it does that. This line here, and that is going over to too short of it there. So there, to be consistent. And reverse contour. End up doing that a lot. Okay, now what's happening with that? That is too straight in here. This needs to be brought down too, probably to like there, to there, and up to there, and down to there. And you may say he is sticking too heavily to his grid shape, and you would be correct. I am really sticking too heavily to it. Minus, minus. Not quite happy with that yet either, probably because this is too straight. The Bodoni part is straight in there too. I think you're done with 33 letters. Yeah, I thought that sort of generally accepted English had more phonemes than that. I am going to look at raising these back up again. I made them narrower, and that's fine. But that should be a change that's made consistently across the whole font, not one glyph at a time. So I'll try and make it look more normal with current setup. Now the problem with this here is I don't mind the curve across the top there, but it hits this straight spot and goes straight down and then hits the other curve. And I think that probably needs to be brought up like that and like that. I'm going to leave the other side untouched. And then I can adjust the curve here. And here. See if that looks a bit more consistent. So we'll knock this down. Well, move that up. Adjust these down to up. And then address the problems. All. Nope, undo that. That sure didn't fix all, guys. The fix all thing often does not work right. If you do it individually, it can. There. Now, the only thing about that is I have screwed with the width of it, and I kind of like the width of it at 3:1. So I'm going to try moving this back into the center halfway. Zoom in. So halfway would be right about there. Move that back in 2.5 to there. And then go look at it in preview. You could add a glottal and labial stop. I realized I did forget the NG, but I didn't add CH or J because they can be different. I presume that is, they can be different letters and can be put together to make those sounds. It's up to you how you want to do that. Like I said, I like featural stuff. So for me, if I was doing that, I would have a symbol for TS, S, and then put a diacritic on it to make ch, and then another diacritic to mark it as voiced and make j. Well, it's up to you. You're building your own system, right? You just make it as consistent as you want to for your system. Okay, so when I look at that, that is not as graceful as the O there by any stretch. So I need to figure out what to do to make that more so. Probably move these in a point on either side. And therefore in a point on these sides. That looks fairly smooth. And then these, maybe. Actually, it's looking very Eye of Sauron at the moment. All I gotta do is drop a glowing red dot in the center there, right? It looks odd to me when I look at it close up here, but when you look at it as a glyph, it's not that bad. It's not right, but it's not that bad. It might be. Oh, that's off there. Now we have the same problem. Sorry, coming back here. I'm trying to move this arm there and it wasn't, oh, it's doing it now. It wasn't doing it before. Oh, that's what's off. This is half a grid square here with one grid square there, but two up here. So if I bring that down to here and down to here, does it look better or worse? I think it actually looks worse. So we bring that up to there, this back up to here, and we take this one and drop it down 5. And then it's consistent. It was just inconsistent on this one. Hello, Ron. I will not. Achanin? Acha 9 Lin. I won't try and pronounce that, but Ro, not Ron, Ro. How you doing? Thank you for dropping by. Oh, okay. You're the person that originally talked to me. How you doing? Mehdi, yes. I am attempting to produce a more stylized version of the same font that I had there because like I said, it was very blocky. Oh, you also deserve some applause. Thank you for dropping by. I made it deliberately blocky. Now I'm trying to stylize things. just to give it a different look. So this is the first one that I've started working on, really. And this is my model. I want to try taking some of this and inject that into the design that I had there. I will never equal Bodoni quite, but I want to try and get a little closer. So I'm taking some elements from it. So if that is that shape there, is there anything derived off of that shape? I don't think there is. That is R, and there is a dot R. They're not? R dot? R, Z dot? R dot, yes. Minus, there. So we're going to take that sucker, copy it, come down to R dot, and get rid of the blocky ugliness and replace it with the curved ugliness. Reset that to H, and boom, it lines it back up again. I am going to change that into a dot. Haven't gotten there yet. So now we can go back and take the flagged colors off, none, on the ones that I have done this process on. I just use the flags to say, okay, well, I'm doing this thing and I've done it to everything. Finish that stage. Then we go to the next thing and do it with that. And the next thing in this case is going to be putting a little bit of curve on the A. So, how you doing? Already did that bit. Okay. So for everybody else that's out here, Mehdi here is I hope I'm saying that right, the person that approached me and said, hey, would you like to try your hand at this? And therefore, really is the inspiration for all this in a lot of ways. We're going to drag that over to there, and this down to here. Maybe a bit further to there. And we're going to say fix that so it lines it up right. And we're going to draw another Bezier from here to here. And then add curve. And go 1 and 1. Not vertical. X. Thank you. And this here needs to be over a pixel or 2. That. Actually, that doesn't need to be there at all. Get rid of that line. Drag that straight up to there. Join it up again. Not vertical, but now I can vertical it a bit better. So, Mehdi. Okay, Mehdi. Not a full kha or anything. Mehdi. Hopefully that's right. Okay, so we've rounded the A bit there. It doesn't really show in this view. I will take that off. When you go back to the preview and you look at the RA here, it's a little rounder, right? Rounded at the top there. I suppose I could do the same thing on the bottom down here, and I probably should. Haven't touched the TI here yet, but the change that I make here to the curves here, I'll have to make to the rest of the vowels as well. And I'm probably saying this wrong. This reads tiratiznatit. So we're going to go back in here. We're going to grab the knife, chop this connection here, grab the cursor. We did 2 and 1. So grab that over to 1. this up too. Grab Bezier drawing tool. Go back to the cursor. To curve. Drag that to 1. Drag that to 2. Put a slight curve on things, not much. Oh, that wasn't to 2. That was to 1. 1 and 1, like that. Well, I'm stealing. To be honest, I'm stealing from Bodoni. But at the start of the broadcast, I said I saw this interview with an Italian font designer, and I cannot remember his name. His last name began with an M. It was something like Massilio or something. Anyway, apparently very well respected. He said you only really need 6 fonts. That's it. So there's thousands of the things out there, and I'm busy building new ones, but you only really need 6. And one of those was Bodoni. And of those fonts, I like Bodoni the most, and it is used all over the place for logos and things like that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to steal some elements from Bodoni and add them to the thing that I'm building here and see what it looks like. See if I can do that without causing too many problems. And it might also reveal weaknesses in the thing that I built. So it's a double-edged thing here. I'm gonna try and expose some things that I've built and see if they have weaknesses in them or not. So that one's that done. Which one else is in here? There. TI. Okay, so same process. Grab the knife. Chop the connection. Grab the cursor. 2 down. 1. No, don't move that. Control Z. There is a way to tell this not to move the 0 line, but I don't know what it is yet. Probably pretty straightforward. Haven't figured it out. 1 and 1. And then there's a problem here, so we'll fix that. Fix that. And not so bad. Irregular stem. Sure. Don't know what that means, but we'll come on. Fix. No. Fix. Nope, it's not fixing it. Oh well. Maybe it'll go away when I chop the corner down here. Cursor. 2 up. 1 over. Bezier. Draw that. Right click. Not reverse contour. Reverse it again. To curve. What I really wanted. 1 by 1. Fix. Fix. Sure. We'll leave the irregular stem part. So I'm going to assume that you're asking that, Mr. Something, because it's like 1 in the morning where you are. Yes, I expect to be streaming on YouTube again next Saturday at least. I stream on Twitch 3 times a week, so until I change that schedule, and I'm happy with it the way it is at the moment, I can't really stream too many times for YouTube for this sort of stuff and still get anything else done. But I'm trying to commit to streaming Saturday afternoons for me. So Saturdays regularly. And I've done it a few times and then missed it once or twice. now I have a direction. I have a thing to work on. I'm going to pursue this until I think it's at a point where I can leave it for the moment. And yeah, I expect to be back on Saturday. So if you're saying goodbye for now, then yeah, I'll be back and I'll see you then. And thank you very, very much for coming by. Really appreciate it. That was a lot of supposition on my part, but I bet you I'm right that you're thinking it's awfully late and you have to go away. Let me know if I'm wrong. Okay, so now if we go back to preview, you can see that the I guess cursor's over here, that the R is curved, that there is a curve in here and a curve in here, and that is repeated on this here, the I, and again over here on another A, and again here. So I've got the vowels doing that. I need to do that with the consonants that are in there, and then I can completely renovate the look of this. And then I can fix this, which is just atrocious. Not at all right, but I don't know what to do with it. And the hook down here needs to be changed too. It should be thinner horizontally and probably a lot smaller. And that's a whole other thing. So let us look at the T where, okay, I have T and it's distinct enough from the K, so that's okay. No pun intended. So yeah, okay, we can round this element in here. Move that over one notch. We can grab our knife and do grievous bodily harm to this shape and pull these back. So that is going to go over one. This is going to go down two, down two, over one, and then grab the Bezier and close this back up again. And then cursor and convert them to curves. See how that looks. So we'll go one, same curve I used before, one and one horizontally, one vertically here, one horizontally there, and fix a few problems if we can. Okay, and then I'm busy making all these changes on the font glyph screen and I didn't switch back, but you can now see there is a curve here on the T, and of course here again, and here again, and here again, because it's repeated. That's why I chose that. So that is a little bit better. I don't know if I need to curve it down here or keep the straight shape. I think I'm going to keep the straight shape. But am I going to do that everywhere? I think we have to address the horror here, because that looks just terrible to me. So what is wrong with that? It goes from big, heavy verticals to narrow immediately instead of going to a thicker shape in the middle and then back to a thinner shape here. So these here need to be moved over like that. But then the curves are wrong too. this line here should come through here, come up here, and be repeated over here. And I don't want to have this huge block in the center here either, but these need to come down and go up. Start. Then really, this should be this big, broad S shape that goes through here, curves up to here consistently, and isn't at the moment. Now, a lot can be done by just adjusting the curves here. Maybe like that. And that. That doesn't quite work yet either. Might have to redesign the whole glyph. Oh, that was the thing I was going to check. Right. If I go to my browser, to here, and go to here. No, go channel. Ah, there's a way I can say, oh, there's 2 people watching. Now I know. Doesn't tell me how many people came and went, but I'll find that out later. Still a long process to figure this out. How long have we been streaming? 3 hours and 8 minutes. Okay. At least I have a way to check there. I'm going to have to refine that and find a better way to do it. Because I do like to know how many people are out there. So if that went in a curve vertically that was the right width, and then vertically, maybe I can just build that shape and then figure it out from there. So we go Bezier pen. And immediately blow it. So Bezier. From here, in a big S shape, to a midpoint, which will be there, up to there, across, down. To curve, to curve. This would have to be the reverse. That would be to there. This would be to there. So then we get rid of this. This, we don't need them. And for that matter, that one. And select that and copy, paste, drag it over till passing through the midpoint, it is 3 wide. See how that works. Shift roll, yeah. Now, really, that shape could go from the inside to the outside, and outside to the inside, and it's now further 3, so we're going to drag it back like that. And then that needs to be much narrower, doesn't it? So pull that back to here and try moving that down. Two. And that down. 2. Then this over 1, that to that point. This to 2. Probably making a fundamental mistake. Not thinking this through properly. That's a little bit better. Across here, it should be 3 pixels probably, but that should be up equal to it, 2. Like that. Then zoom in more. Curve to curve. I want to move that down maybe to there. Therefore, to here. No. Ah, that's off by 1 here and off by 2 there. That, no. That needs to be back there. This needs to move over like that. Then move the whole shebang over a bit so I've got more space. And close it up. I'm going to make a much bigger glyph. Now I have a smoother shape, but it's still not quite right. It's still a little wide in here, I think. So zoom in. Say what's off about that. No, Control Z. Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. That needs to be down to there. That down to there. And then those are off just by a hair. sometimes just by a hair is enough to be visible. Human eye is incredibly effective at spotting minute differences. And then I had that error there, so I undid my closing position. Wrong thing. So close that. There, there. Grab that. Fix that problem. Grab that. Fix that. Okay, it might still be a little thick in the center here. Okay, no problem. I will keep glagolitic in my mind as the next project, and I will take a look at Bozanchica. Is that how you say it? Bozanchica? I don't know where the stress is. Maybe it's Bozanchica or Bozanchica or something. But I will take a look at that too. And yeah, that would be cool. Another project never hurts. I think that is too thick in there. So I'm going to bring that in just a little bit on both sides. And look at the preview. A little bit more. Because by the time I put a second one of these on there, reversed, it is going to be looking a little bit thicker. So we take that and we copy it, click off, paste it, and then go to Tools, Transform, Flip Horizontal. And that is a bit better, maybe. And then we take this and we draw a box from here to here. And from here to here. And then we highlight all of this. And we go up to Contour, Remove Overlap. And then we back up a little bit. That is better than this any day of the week, I think. Not hugely better, but better. It's spaced out a bit more. And we could probably put further refinements to that. Plus, plus, plus. Fix. Come on. Fix. 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 It doesn't like this. Fix. Really doesn't. Fix all. Nope. No idea what the problem is there. Okay. Back out. It's not a huge improvement, but the lines are better. The curve is consistent going across like that. So we are going to get rid of this sucker here, which we have to do in bits and pieces because I don't think I can select all, but maybe I can. No. There. Then we can take this, right or wrong, and move it over to there. And copy the whole shebang. And come back here, and that is that fixed. So we can flag none it. Still not right, but it's better than it was. And now I can go and cut and paste that in here. And then just get rid of this shape because I don't need it. And go back to the original. Oh, actually, unflag that. Flag none. Go back here. Grab that shape. And center it more because everything's moved. I am going to have to fix that down the road, so I'm not too worried about it. It is the wrong shape at the moment. It's too thick and heavy in the wrong direction. That's good there. That's good there. It's better. Control A, Control copy. Come down here. Like this. Rid of that. Put that in there. Move that over quite a bit. It is going to be replaced with a circle in any case, and I think I'm going to be able to greatly simplify some of this. Tighten it up a bit. But there we go. That's that addressed there, so that can be flag none. This one here, I can select all, copy, come back down, come here, select that, delete and replace. I don't know why it keeps moving this over when I get rid of that. Very irritating. It never used to do that. This is new behavior for this software that is getting irritating. Okay. So that one can be flag none. That one can be flag none. Save. So it's going to be a lot of subtle little changes like that, I think, to get this into better shape. And it's going to be an iteration all the way through on all of these. If we go back to the preview now, we now have all four of those letters slightly revised. All of those, actually the whole thing has been revised now. Zenati, probably said it wrong, Mehdi, I know. But it's all revised except for the hook on the bottom here, which I could go look at. Because once it's adjusted, I could just cut and paste it into so many different spots. So what is wrong with this is that with the Bodoni, it is thick horizontally, but thin vertically. And this is thick vertically when it shouldn't be. So I wonder if I can just drop that down like that. And maybe move this a little narrower. Still have it look right. No, I think that all of this needs to move up too. Maybe even move that over, up. Okay, we can move that up a little bit too to be consistent in height with the part over here. That down a bit. And then take the whole shape and move it over like that. Yeah, actually, I don't mind that. Maybe change this slightly there. Put a bit of curve in there. No, like that anyway. Oh, 2.5, 2.5. This here could actually be moved out to there. That's not bad. Select the whole thing and move it up another another block like that. No, that's going to cause, that has to go back down. That would cause problems with the way it intersects with glyphs that don't have that gap in here. Gap in here. I just realized it was on the wrong screen. Control copy. When I look at it on preview, I don't mind the little hook like that. It might change down the road, but I don't mind it being the same width as the gaps in here and on here, which it is more or less. So I'm going to copy that here, control copy, and then just go through, and every one that has that, even the ones I haven't fixed like this, I will select that shape, get rid of it, and paste this one in and just move it to the right location. I think it does need to go down and then over. That is B. So if we go back over here and put a B beside a Z, this needs to be reverse contoured. I need to go back to the Z. You're still here at 3 a.m. Don't do things to yourself that you really shouldn't because you're not getting enough sleep. That's no good. We're going to select this and move it down to there. That curve still isn't right. Okay, if you look at preview, I now have B and Z. I haven't done anything with the B itself. It still needs to be rounded and have other stuff done, but I've done that there, and they're at the same point. I'm just not quite happy with this line in here. So this is undoubtedly going to undergo more refinement, but I will take the one from here and highlight it and copy it and paste that one everywhere else that there is one. And we'll see how that looks. Take that, delete it, paste. Needs to be moved over to there. Yes. Then here, select, delete, paste, and moved over because that was a wider glyph. And there. And then we'll have to compare all these and make sure they look right. Here, haven't done anything with this glyph either, but we will get rid of this. No. Rid of the whole thing. No. There. Gone. Paste. Move it back. You've ruined your sleeping 2:02 a.m. here. You've ruined your sleeping pattern. Yeah, even worse for Mr. Something there. It's 3 in the morning in Croatia, I guess. This guy here is thoroughly screwed up. So we're getting rid of it and putting this one in and moving it back to be centered like that. No, it's not centered enough. There is a thing called weight for shapes that you need to keep in mind. So this shape here, the center point of it going horizontally is not quite the center of the whole shape. Right now I'm centering on this point right here, even though it has a little bit that goes that way. And I don't know how to describe it, but glyphs will have a certain weight where the center of the glyph is actually not the center of the glyph. It's like offset one way or another. Not in something like this, which is totally balanced, but in something like this here, the balance point should be, oh, you can't see that. The balance point should be right through the center here. But if there was more glyph drawn off to one side or something like that, the balance point might actually seem to be a little different. It isn't in this case. Bad example. Bad. Okay. That's all of them up there. Now we can do down here. Delete, paste, and move. I do want these all to be the same height, but I want them centered on the thing above them. So I have to adjust the position back and forth. And we'll settle on whether or not it's right for each of them individually down the road. Oh, and reverse contour. Might as well copy it again with the contour reversed because it's happening on all of these. Reverse contour. Copy. That looks okay. Let's go that way. Probably arguably means that the glyph above it needs to be changed. It does. It can be moved a little left on these. So it's narrower. Yeah. Means this can too. And therefore, this can. No, that one's all right, I think. Okay, I'm on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island in the city of Victoria, and it is 6:07. Oh, I actually have to stop. I have to stop. I got to go pick my wife up. Let me check to see when she's off work. It's real soon, I think. Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna have to stop. I will save this. I will be back next Saturday. Save. I will try not to do too much tweaking to things here in the meantime, but I might do some of it because there's still a lot to be done. Thank you very much, everybody who came by. You shouldn't have read any creepypastas today. Sure. Confused on a higher plane. Thank you very much, guys. I'm going to stop, and I will continue with this project and this revision because there's still going to be lots of stuff to be done down the road, and see if I can produce a better version of the font that I've produced that is a bit more visually consistent and interesting. And thank you very much for coming along on the journey. If you haven't done it, hit follow. Sorry, it's YouTube. Hit subscribe. Then you'll get and hit the notification thing and all that standard stuff that you hear on every single video you ever watch. And then you'll know when I'm coming back on again. If you want to see me playing games, I play a very old MMO called Dark Age of Camelot 3 times a week on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays Pacific Standard Time. You can follow me on Twitch TV as That Font Guy. You can follow me on Instagram as That Font Guy, on YouTube as That Font Guy, and on Twitter. And we will see you next time. I really hope to talk to all of you. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome, Mehdi. No problem. This is really interesting. And now I got Mr. Something lining me up to do something with glagolitic after this. So it's all good. I have font stuff to do, and I can show off techniques and build something neat. And it's fascinating. Mehdi and Mr. Something, thank you very much. Go. Actually, I don't have it here as an effect, right? Go to bed. Get some sleep. You'll be thankful tomorrow, rather than watching some old nerd on the internet do font things. Yeah, we'll see you again. And Feral Kitty, very nice to talk to you. Very nice to meet you. Have a good evening. It's only 9 there, so you still got some evening to go. But hopefully I'll see you all you guys next time. Have a good one. Bye.